Welcome back to Report Desk Africa with me, Bernard Akede. Of course, I'm not alone. We were talking just before going on the break. We're talking about the budget, the 2024 budget that was presented by Nigeria's president, and how, like Blessings said, some of the amounts in the budget were ludicrous. And there's been a lot of complaints, particularly with the amount allocated to the office of the president, the vice president, and certain special advisors or the president's chief of staff. Now, we're still talking money, but this time we're looking at something that Nigerians are quite familiar with. We're talking about loan apps. If you're Nigerian or you live in Nigeria, you possibly may have received some text messages sometime in the past stating that somebody on your contact list is owing a certain amount of money. And if you do not, you should hunt them down. And if you do not hunt them down, certain things may happen, possibly to you or to the person. Sometimes that certain things have happened to the person already. That's what we're taking a look at now. Now, the criminal defamation under the Nigerian law clearly states that a defamation matter is defined in Section 373 of the Criminal Code as a matter likely to injure the reputation of the person by exposing the person to hatred, contempt, or ridicule, or likely to damage any person in his or her profession or trade by injury to his reputation. Now, despite these clearly defined laws, Nigerians across 6 geopolitical zones are not spared, and extreme tactics used by loan app operators on their clients, basically considered to have defaulted in their loans repayment. However, loan app operators usually claim ignorance in their approach, resorting to high-handedness as a solution to the loan's recovery when they break the law to do so. Now, the reason why we're bringing this up, Blessings, is because there was an investigative piece put together by a journalist who actually dug into part of the reasons why some of these loan apps or loan app handlers are beginning to reach into people's contact lists and send random messages saying one person has defaulted in paying back their loans, and because of that, they're reaching people at random and asking, do you know this person? If you do know them, if this person does not repay the loan, we're going to come for you. First of all, have you received any such messages?
Oh, a lot of times. I mean, almost every time. And I think my major question is usually, first of all, these loan apps, don't they have structure, right? If you're going to venture into any such business, if you don't want high blood pressure to kill you, because the truth is, it's not everybody that will repay at the exact time. So why not have a structure? For example, they usually ask for guarantors, even in the banks, ask for 2 guarantors. Which one is sending 10 people messages about one person that is owing you money? I wasn't even there when the person borrowed the money. And most of the time, it's even more laughable because sometimes I've seen cases where they don't send messages to this person, right? Maybe they've reminded you in the past to pay your money and you refuse. They won't send you any message again. They'll now start distributing your pictures about.
I think
it will now be how we will now tell you as a friend that, do you know your picture is circulating? It's so embarrassing, right? It's happened several times, and sometimes I don't even know how to tell these persons. And I'm just wondering, why? Why go through all of that?
Yeah, that you've become an overnight celebrity. We begin to see your picture.
Do you get? And it's even more embarrassing because I was just telling you before the show came on that I saw one video on social media where the girl was on a phone call with the representative of the loan app, where she got her loan from, and they were asking her, won't you pay your money? And she's like, you guys have posted that I'm dead. Because they literally went the extra mile to tell people that this person has died. To what end? And then she's like, people that are dead don't pay loans. So why are you still asking me for the money? Sometimes I just figure, are you sure it's not children behind these things? Because why are you doing all of this? You want the person to pay your money. You are saying the person is dead. Why?
Well, I think it's just a gimmick to get people to force the hand of people to eventually pay the money. We're expecting a guest to join us, hopefully. Oluwafemi Ajibade, he put together an investigative piece as to why this is happening and probably seeking solutions, how it can actually be resolved. Pending where we have him, we'll just go on with the conversation. Now, I've also seen places where representatives of this loan app say that this is done because of the way that their companies have been treated in the past. Persons come, borrow certain amounts of money, and then there are stipulated repayment methods, there are stipulated repayment dates, and these persons exceed these dates and do not follow the repayment methods. So, of course, at some point you want to say, and this is me playing devil's advocate now, you want to say that these loan app companies, have the duty of, at some point, getting their monies back. I know you don't work with loan apps, blessings, but if you were the one loaning out money to a certain person and you have stated, this is the day you should repay, you cannot falter beyond so date, and this is the amount you are paying me back. If the person or persons default, what do you think could be the best solution?
So the thing is, right, like you said, I don't work with them, right? But I understand that, just like I said, there should be structures,
Definitely.
right? I do know that when they're filling your form,
yes,
you ask them certain questions. Maybe you ask for the name of their guarantors. Maybe you ask them where they work. Maybe you ask them where they stay. You have this information, right? I'm believing that the reason you're asking is so that if they default, you know what next step to take. Why not sit down, plan what you will do when they default? The best thing that I would have suggested is take collaterals. I know that a lot of times people will be like, because of how much. But if you're so skeptical about giving out money, then maybe you should introduce the collateral system, right? Where there's something for something, or highest, you know where they work, go to their office, meet their managers. Which one is you're calling a meeting? Family, you gather the entire family, a town hall meeting. From my experiences, right, of people that I have seen who they threaten, they send them messages. Most of the time, these things are even make them not want to pay.
True.
Because they'll be like, okay, let's even see what you can do now.
And
at the end of the day, they send, and they stop. They get tired. The money is gone.
Unfortunately.
Well, thanks for staying with us on Report Desk Africa. This is still the second half of the show, and we're still talking about loan apps and their approach towards trying to get their money back from those who borrowed money from them. And we're focusing mainly on this because we have realized, due to a report that was put together by the guest that we have introduced earlier, Oluwafemi Ajibade, that these approaches, some of these approaches go against the criminal act, where they use threats, they use defamation of character just to try and get back their monies from their clients. So that said, we still have our guest with us, Citizen Gavel, the operations lead, Citizen Gavel, Oluwafemi Ajibade. Thank you for still being with us, Oluwafemi. Now, we're still talking about the loan apps, right? Nigerians have raised concern about the legitimacy of some loan apps, and they've accused certain platforms of engaging in fraudulent activities like misusing borrowers' card details. Shouldn't there be a regulatory body to check the activities of these loan apps?
It appears we still don't have Oluwafemi with us just at the moment. So we may go on with the conversation. Hopefully, at some point, he'll be able to join us just before we conclude this conversation. Now, there's something you were talking about, Blessings, just before we went on break, and you were saying that, that these loan apps already should have the details of the customers who have come to them seeking loans. Now, that puts the customers at the mercy of the loan apps. The question now is, what can the customers do to protect themselves? And this is something I'd have loved to discuss with Oluwafemi if we're able to get him on board. Now, the sad part is the kind of information that customers give to the loan apps is such that they have their bank verification number, BVN, which means that whatever bank accounts they use, all these accounts are tied to that BVN. So these apps have access to the accounts, to a certain degree. They have, if they have international ID cards, driver's license, international passports, some of the details on these very, very vital documents are also in possession of these loan apps. So it almost means that the customers are at the mercy, like I said, of the loan apps, and there's hardly any way to protect or defend themselves, which brings me to my next point, that whatever organizations or bodies are in charge of regulating the activities of these loan apps need to wake up to their responsibilities.
Honestly, I was going to say that so it's when you talk about loan apps, right? It shouldn't be so different from the idea of a bank. Right? So I honestly have been on the opinion of the opinion for the longest time that loan apps should be like offshoot of banks, right? where we know that, okay, certain banks are the ones giving, because like it or not, over the years, people have, developed some kind of trust for banks, because you know that, okay, the banks have your details, but only on, some certain occasions will they reach out to you on your phone number or try to get you to do some things and all that. But we know that we trust our banks, right? Because we know that they're bodies regulating their activities. So why don't these, first of all, I don't even believe in having so many numerous loan apps, because I can wake up one morning and, decide to want to make a lot of interest, because you see the interest that these loan apps charge.
I hear about that.
It's crazy, right? So I am of the opinion that these loan apps should be completely, not everything, but reduced to the barest minimum, right? So we have just a few that can be regulated, and those few are thoroughly checked so that the credibility of these loan apps are not in question. Because what is happening now is the loan apps do not trust these people. The people borrowing the money don't trust the loan apps. So it's like, okay, fine, you're sending my details. I don't care, because what if you want to harm me? And these ones are like, you are holding my money. Give me my money. Things like, so it's like we're just going, back and forth because of the money that they borrowed. So I really do believe that the loan apps, first of all, should be checked, like you said, thoroughly checked. There should be a body that is completely regulating these things, that that, okay, they have what it takes to start the company that they're starting, and they're not just somebody in Yaba that is trying to get more money, or somebody that worked in a bank and got fired that is now trying to get more money. So it should be thoroughly checked, and at the same time, it should be reduced. The numbers should be reduced. Yeah, because I believe that the banks have your details, like I said earlier, right? And we're not scared of that. So if these bodies check them thoroughly, and over time, we do not hear of cases of, fraudulent activities from these loan apps, then the trust will grow. Definitely.
I totally agree with you. The trust will grow. Just before we drop this topic, there's something you also mentioned that caught my attention largely, and it's the interest, the interest rate that's put on the monies borrowed. I said the look on you in your eye. The interest that's put on this monies borrowed from these loan applications. I've come to hear that, first of all, the loan apps are to help people borrow small amounts of money, nothing exorbitant, nothing too over the edge that you will need collateral for, But for borrowing such small amounts of money, you begin to hear ridiculous, and in your words again, ludicrous, what's the word now? Rates, exactly, interest rates. How are people even supposed to go about this if all they want is a little money? So again, coming back to what you said and what we agreed on, definitely the regulatory bodies need to look into this particular matter.
And very quickly, right, this might look like a bit of a reach, but the truth is, I'm still going to tie back to the cost of living in the country, right? We have a minimum wage that is barely enough to even fuel your car. In fact, if you're earning the minimum wage, no one expects you to have a car.
True.
Right? So if you are living on the minimum wage, there's a level of desperation that comes with not having enough, right? Because you've budgeted the minimum wage for just one aspect, say feeding, and things are now very expensive. So if that is the case, you will now start looking to other people. And the truth is, every other person is fighting for themselves. So your best bet now is the loan app. So if the cost of living was better, I think all of these things would be minimized.
Very, very true. We're hoping that we would have Oluwafemi Ajibade join us once again to, at some other time to really, really look into this particular matter. But this is where we'd have to drop it on today's episode. Now, we'll take a very quick break, and when we come back, we're looking into our crystal ball to give you the forecast of some of the stories we might be tracking come next week. To stay with us.